Hi there, Robin here from Expert On. Today we're going to be installing something in our showroom to make our speakers better. And what is that? That is the ULTRAZONE from Behringer. Now we're going to start with one, we'll probably add a second, maybe even a third. Now this is going to let me control all my speakers individually and have all the gain settings, so I'm not constantly worried about the volume level of any one particular speaker when I'm using the mixing board to demo the actual speakers. I'll be able to have these set up so that they're at unity, matching the speaker's unity as well. So this way when they clip here, they're going to clip on the speaker. So this way I'll be able to keep an eye on it without physically having to see the back of the speaker. Every speaker sounds a little different, so we need to make sure we set up each one individually to get the maximum output that we're looking for here, which is pretty much what we're looking for. We want to demonstrate the maximum performance. So this way, depending on the size of the show or presentation you need to use speakers for, you're going to be able to get there. If it doesn't work, then we go to the next model up, the next series up. So this is going to allow me to do everything via the XLRs. We're going to bring this off to the table right now so we get a little bit more details and a little bit closer on how this whole thing works. So we'll take a look at that video first, and then we'll come back here and I'll show you how we're going to be plugging this all in. Alright, so before we actually install it, let's take a quick look at what this unit actually has and what it can do for you. Now, the idea is to have a master control volume system for all your amplifiers or speakers in your space. Now, I say that because your space can be a bar, it could be a church, it could be a club, it could be anything at all. It could even be a store like we have here. Our showroom with all the speakers needs to be controlled. All the speakers are different and we need a way to make that happen. So that's what we're going to use this guy for. Now, very important is the way the actual gain levels get set on here. I don't want anything to pass over a clipping point. So I want to get unity up on everything. I want to balance it out. So I am going to be doing it with white noise, and I'm going to end up doing it one speaker at a time with a set of earmuffs on so I don't hear the deafening roar of the whole thing. Now, that allows me to maximize all the speakers, but if you're setting this up anywhere else but here, where I want to show everything off to its maximum capability, you're going to be using this so you can govern how much preamp level goes to that particular speaker. So if you have speakers further down in, let's say, a church, they may not be as loud as the speakers midway or up front. Or maybe it's a restaurant, and a restaurant and bar, that's a perfect scenario. You've got, let's say, the dance floor area. That's going to have a high gain on that, so this way that maximizes the speaker volume there. Then you work your way backwards and you say, well, I want the restaurant area to be the lowest and I want the bar area to be somewhere in between. Loud enough so people enjoy the music, low enough so people can, order a drink. So that's what's going to be able to happen here. You can set up all of them either in stereo or mono by using the button down below. And the meter is going to help you take care of all that. Now, we do have two knobs off to the end here, which are our inputs. And then we can adjust all of our outputs here. So I'm going to bring this here to unity with the mixer in my case. This could be a controller in your case. And once I have this matched up, and again, I'm going to use white noise as a background as a benchmark. This allows me to get everything the same and it's easy to work with. Once I have that done, then I'll be able to set up the speakers across the board. Again, I'm going to be using this in mono, so this way everything comes out the same. On the back side, this is the business end. It's all XLR across the whole piece. We've got our two sets of inputs here, and then we have all of our outputs going across. They're set up in pairs. There's 6 pairs. There's 12 in total, and then the power plug at the end. The build and finish of the unit's pretty good. I think Behringer did a very nice job. They've had this out for a while. It's all made out of brushed aluminum. Good extrusions, good setup. The knobs click well. This is going to be one of these set it and leave it type setups. Once you get this going and you balance it off properly, you shouldn't have to come back to it too often and touch it again. So there we go. So we'll go back to the actual install and we'll see how this is going along. So here we are. So we are going to be connecting all these speakers up via an XLR connection. So that's what's on the back of the ULTRAZONE. It's all XLR, so of course we're going to be using XLR cables, and that's how we're going to get our connections across all the speakers. Now, the important thing about the XLR cable that I was looking for when I wanted the right cable to do the job is, one, it had to be, well, economical, because I got to buy a lot of them, and it is for display purposes and no one's ever going to see it. But people will hear it, and I do have to unplug them quite often. Not from the actual ULTRAZONE, which we're going to be installing up here, right under here, and eventually this will probably get racked into here, so this way you can have more units stacked up and set up and ready to go. Now, what the cable does have to do is it has to have a solid connection, thick-walled, easy removal. I looked for one that had a rubber end to it, so this way you can take some good flexibility, because I do have to remove from the speaker a lot, and I didn't want any pins that were going to get loose or anything like that. So in this case, that's what I was looking for. And I was also looking for a low noise cable. I wanted to make sure that all 3 wires were connected, so I did have the proper cancellation, and I got a variety of lengths to make sure I can hook everything up. So how am I going to actually do the sound test? And that's going to be using my iPad with white noise playing on the background. So if I go back to here, this is a demonstration of the noise that we're going to, it's a stagnant noise, so I'm not looking for any highs or lows. I just want consistency. So this way, when I play that, and I have that at unity across the board, which by the way is stupid loud, like I have to wear earmuffs on to make that work, I'll be able to have all these speakers set up exactly the way I want, and I won't have to come back and fidget with the knobs and do all that kind of stuff unless a customer accidentally touches it. Outside of that, it's going to work perfectly, or so that's the plan. Well, we'll see it at the end. We'll do a sound test, and we'll get into that, and I'll demonstrate how this got connected to the back of the speakers and to the back of the units. All right, so we've gotten all the cables zip tied in behind, and this is what we're looking at. We've got our 2 lines that are going to come in from here, and it's going to come off our mixer into here. Then we've got our following 12 channels that are going to be coming into the actual units. These are all the cables. Now I'm going to fan them all out, so this way they all go to their proper speakers, and then I'll be able to hook them up, give them a test, and see where we go. All right, so we have everything hooked up. All the cables have been put in behind the actual unit, put in lined up properly, so it's going to go from left to right. It's going to go from the very bottom, number 1 is my spare, all the way through to 12 at the end. Now, one important thing that you have to follow is if you want to be able to independently turn up all the channels separately, you have to set it up so this way your input 1 is, let's say, set on the left side, and then you take input 2 on the right side. Now this is very, very important, because if they're both on the right or both on the left, noise canceling is going to kick in. Instead of getting more volume, you're going to cancel out anything that's the same, and well, it's just basically doing its job as an XLR cable. So you want to make sure you get the 2 outside channels from input 1 and input 2 on the unit, and that'll then allow you to go into stereo mode, which is setting the buttons in the green instead of in the red, which is pushed down. Now when you do that, then the buttons act independently, so they line up with the actual XLR plugs in the back. That means that if I turn up a number, this is number 6 left, it's going to turn up 1 speaker. If I turn up number 6 right, it'll turn up the other speaker. If I had this set up that both my inputs were on input 1, left and right, I would never get the second knob to work, because that is labeled as line 2, and I would have to then run it in mono, and then both speakers would then turn up and down. So if you're planning on using this as 2 separate input sources, well, then you'll be running it in mono, and you'll be turning up each one separately, so this way all the speakers come on at the same time. You may decide to configure it slightly differently, but that's, if you're having problems with sound, that's where it's coming into play. Input 1 on the far left, input 2 on the far right. This way no noise cancellation is going to kick into play, and then your knobs will work independently from each other, and you'll be able to get volume. I have already taken the time to set all these at unity, so this way now all I have to do is turn them up. I am going to do some fine tuning. I do have unity on the mixing board. Unity now reached on the actual ULTRAZONE, so I'm not worried about overclocking or overpowering the speakers with more preamp power than they should get. I just now have to make sure I get to the maximum levels. Once I do that, it's all done. I won't have to look at the back of the speakers anymore. I just have to turn them on. That's what this is all about up here, and that's it. So The next time I look at this is because I'm going to put another one in for the subwoofers so I can turn those on and off and control the gain levels on those subs. And then a customer will be able to listen to any speaker with any sub. So there we go. I hope you liked this video. I'll have links for this product down below. You can always find it at our website, or if you're in the States, on Amazon. Any other products like the cables and that sort of thing, I'll put that down below. We now have an Amazon shopping page where we get to put all the different pieces that I have here hooked up today in a package for you so you can see all the elements. Remember, if you got any questions or comments, I always try and take the time once or twice a week if I can, if not sooner, to answer them. Just leave them down below. We'll see what we can do for you. If you haven't subscribed, now's always a good time. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.